Okay, everybody. So I have a little video here of the car. Some of you, I know in that Where I've Been video I did last year, some of you kind of asked about what's been going on with the car, how's the car doing, and thought maybe I'd give you an update as to what's been going on. So if I remember correctly, some of the things that I had done last year was a service place did this. I had the valve cover gaskets replaced because this is a V6. You got a valve cover gasket here and one over there below the intake manifold. Some of the work I did myself was I replaced all the spark plugs, all the ignition wires, and I replaced the coil pack here itself. So I took care of that last year. Then I think sometime early this year, around February or April, February or March, I had newer brake pads put on all four wheels, so I had that taken care of. That's just general maintenance. And then let's see. Just now I had to get my parking brake fixed, so we took care of that. What happened was I think the things on the calipers weren't really responding anymore, so I had to, unfortunately, in order to get that fixed, I had to get the calipers replaced, and those are on the expensive side. But I got that done. Now the parking brake works beautifully, which I'm happy about that. And then there was one other thing I had recently replaced on the car. Yep, the expansion tank. Now, obviously, the reason why I replaced this or rather I had it replaced is because it was leaking. Now, how did I figure that out? Well, of course, nothing major, thankfully, but this reiterates a point I made in another video, but I'll get to that in a bit. What happened was I opened the hood just to check things like the power steering fluid, especially the windshield washer and the engine oil, and I look at the expansion tank. And I can see the coolant's down to the low mark again, and I'm like, oh my, like, why is it doing that again? Like, I can't figure out why it's doing that. So I'm like, all right, let's look over the entire car, figure out what's going on. So I look at the radiator, everything's totally dry. I look at the hoses, totally dry. Underneath the engine on the floor, nothing from the water pump, so no, that's good. So I'm like, let me look at the expansion tank very carefully. And you're not going to see it now, obviously, but what I did was I looked at the holding screw here, the holding screw there, and they were both wet. And if you look on the upper radiator hose, you can see some spots of dried coolant on it. And also, on this part of the tank, where it's kind of like put together, the seal had failed because I noticed white streaks on there from dried coolant. So I'm like, oh, there's a culprit, the expansion tank. Now, I did have this replaced once before. The initial leak of this, I think, got started in either 2012 or 2013. Now, at that time, I had absolutely no idea where the coolant was going because I was having the same problem, where the coolant would get low, and then basically, I'm going a little too far ahead of myself. The first thing was I noticed the radiator fan came on kind of prematurely. The heat was taking a while to get warm, and then at some point, we'll pretend my finger here is the temperature gauge. It went from this, and as I'm going on to one of the parkways back on Long Island, the temperature gauge starts going like this, and then back down. Now, it never reached H. It never went to H, thank God. But I mean, it went to basically a higher point of that midpoint safe section, let's say. But if your temperature gauge goes like this, and then goes back down, that should never happen. So, long story short, up to, believe it or not, 2015, I finally found out what the problem was, and it was the expansion tank. So I had the expansion tank replaced in 2015, and I had the second one replaced just today. So, it got me thinking, like, do I feel that the tank is poorly made? Not really, because for the first 11 years of the original tank, the car wasn't driven as much as it is now. So basically, this tank, the second tank lasted about 8 years. And I mean, given how much more the car is driven compared from then to now, I don't think it's all that bad. I mean, it's a bummer it didn't last longer, but I guess it is one of the downsides of having a pressurized tank than just overflow. Is that because it's under pressure, it could wear out faster. But what is good though is that the cap I had on there was only about 2 years old. So I told the guy at the car place, and thankfully he was nice enough to save it. So I'm glad he saved me the old cap. I can hold on to this just in case. Because if it's only 2 years old, it should still be okay. So, why not? Hold on to it. And then I guess I'll put that back down there for now. Remember to take it off at the end of the video. So I want to reiterate, this is why you check under the hood once in a while. Even if your car is brand new, you never know. There could be something going on. So just the fact that, you know, I open the hood to check a couple of fluids, and then I see the coolant's low, and I'm like, why does this keep happening? So I finally look all over, and I found the problem. And see, because that's the thing. It's much better for me to see the coolant's low, something's wrong, than, oh my god, the engine's overheating. You know what I'm saying? Because replacing an expansion tank is not even comparable to having to replace an overheated, possibly ruined engine, okay? Because the costs there are like not even comparable. So that's why I stress, you know, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, look under the hood and check everything. You can never be too careful. In this case, I saw the coolant was low, found out the tank was leaking, had it replaced, and as you can see, everything's fine. Aside from the cost to put in new coolant, a new expansion tank, and everything else, engine's fine, never overheated. That's the important part. And I know some of you asked about that blinking check engine light. It hasn't happened in a while. The only thing is I haven't really taken my car on highway driving, and that's the time when it really happened. Now, I've had my car looked at over at 2 service places, and they cannot figure out at all why the light flashes sometimes with highway driving. Like, they've checked all their scan tools, they've checked everything, and they said this engine is running smoothly. Like, we have no idea why it's doing that. So, could it be a bad sensor? I don't know. But like, I'm keeping watch on it, and until I can figure out exactly what that problem is, I'm trying to keep the car off of highway driving, if I can for the time being, because going to work every single day, taking regular roads, the light never comes on once, not once. So, still trying to figure out that mystery. I mean, maybe it's fixed, I don't know, but, you know, especially in my luck, problems like that just don't fix themselves, really. So, the only one other thing I want to do with this engine, and it seems places just don't want to touch it, I don't know why, but the thing is, I do have, behind the coil pack here, I do have an original cam seal that leaks oil, which I mean makes sense because it's the original cam. It's 22 years old now. So I've asked about replacing it, and I guess they say that they don't want to touch it. It's weird. I don't get it, but maybe someone out there can chime in. So what I think I'll do is maybe I'll see if I can find the cam seal myself. And I mean, getting the coil pack off isn't all that bad. But getting this metal off that mounts the coil pack, it's got to come off somehow, because that's what's kind of getting in the way here of the cam seal. I don't want to touch it because the engine's still hot because I was just driving. And there's like a piece of metal. Oh god, I don't know if you can see it, like right there, kind of. Yeah. So if I could find out how to get those things off, it would be much easier to get that cam seal replaced, and I could stop worrying about it. You know. But I mean, it's nothing major. I mean, the engine holds the oil just fine. I mean, it's not like it's not, you know, there's oil puddling on the floor. No, nothing like that. But, you know, just something I want to you know, get fixed sometime in the near future. But aside from that, everything else is good. Like I said, I just drove the car, new expansion tank, and I will say, the old tank's leak, it was a very slow thing. It wasn't like the coolant was dropping every single day. No, it was like you can go for like maybe 2 weeks without having to put new coolant in. But basically, what happened was, since it wasn't leaking all that heavily, the problem is if the tank's not sealed, then obviously the coolant's going to evaporate, and that's basically what was happening. Aside from the small leaks we saw right here. But glad I got a new one, and all things considered, everything is going okay. I still got to find out about the highway driving thing, but engine's running fine, no problems. Got oil changed recently, those brakes and everything, and the parking brake. So overall, things are good. So just a little car update video for you guys who are wondering. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.